But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord Yahweh, and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Micah chapter 4, verse 1 to 3. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. There's the brother Aharon coming back at you with another lesson. Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, and I have an article here I wanted to go into real quick. All right, but before I do so, I'm going to get one more precept here. All right, going into the signs of the times. All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6. It says, And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Matthew 24 and 6. All right, and this article here is titled, Trump launches powerful and deadly strike on ISIS in Nigeria. And of course, this devil did this shit on a so-called Christmas Day, all right, Chrimus Day, December 25th. All right, that was yesterday. All right, and here we are again. All right, just as we read in the book of Micah. All right, in regards to the nations not the nations not lifting up sword against each other, and neither would they learn war anymore. That's something that's going to happen in the kingdom. All right, after the first 1,000 years, the nations are not going to be lifting up sword and fighting against each other or fighting against the children of Israel or any of that. It's never going to happen. All right, it's going to be a state of tranquility. All right, so that begs you to question, if we are in the kingdom of heaven right now, and the people who claim to be the Jewish nation are actually God's chosen people, why are we in a time of war, and why are the nations getting ready for World War III? Because according to biblical prophecy, all these wars that you're seeing, wars and rumors of wars, as we just read, is a sign of the end times. Okay, the end before the actual kingdom of God, the kingdom of Israel, is actually instituted upon the face of the earth. These are part of the signs of the end. Okay, so before the so-called the so-called Jewish state was established in 1948, you didn't have World War III. Okay, you didn't have missiles flying and hitting America and destroying America, as is written in Revelation 18. Babylon, or the daughter of Babylon. Okay, that has to happen before the kingdom is instituted upon the face of the earth. So that should tell you that based on just those prophetic timelines alone and prophetic events, it should tell you that the people who are living in our land right now are clearly imposters. And as a result of their impostoring, the Lord will destroy that land, okay, with thermonuclear fire and destruction. All right, because just like those two women, remember the story going back to Solomon, the two mothers that had their children, and then the one slept on their baby and the baby died, and then she tried to steal the other one. So what she did was she took the dead baby and swapped it out for the baby that was alive, right? And then the matter was brought to King Solomon, and what did he do? He said, well, if we can't decide who's the baby, who's the mother of the child, give me a knife or a sword. I'll cut this baby in half, right? The baby that's alive, I'll cut it in half, and then you take one, takes the other half, and so on and so forth. And then the scripture says that the loins of the mother was burning, right? She was burning in the sense that she was like, oh no, my lord, if you're gonna kill my child, then you might as well just give it to her. I'd rather have the baby live than it to be dead. You see what I'm saying? And then the wicked lady, who her baby had died, she said, yeah, that's fine, chop it up, and then fuck it, I'll take half, you take half. So basically, if I can't have it, then neither can you, right? The theme, or the where I'm going with this is, you treat what is yours with care compared to if it's not yours, right? When you go into the land of Israel right now, or in the land of Palestine right now, Gaza and all these different places, it's literally a heap of ruins. There are certain parts that are unlivable, right? All you see is buildings that are crumpled down, beat down, bombed up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's unrecognizable. Okay, it's literally a heap of ruins. All right, and that's because you have a devil that has taken over that land, and he's waging war, right? He's coveting fields, as is written in Micah, the 2nd chapter. Okay, he's coveting fields, okay, and he's taking them by violence. And he thinks he has the right to go around the whole entire world to command people to live a certain way. If not, he's going to wage war against them. And that's exactly what you're seeing here with the situation with Nigeria. Okay, with the excuse of ISIS is killing and attacking so-called Christians in Nigeria, we're going to go wage war against ISIS in Nigeria. That's false. Okay, because now you got the Nigerians, the actual Nigerians, who are pissed off about this. Okay, people who are in Nigeria right now, they're pissed off about this whole thing. I thought they were being saved from ISIS. Why are they pissed? Let's read. It says, the United States carried out a military airstrike targeting Islamic State, ISIS, militants operating in northwest Nigeria, a move that signaled a sharp escalation in U.S. involvement in West Africa's ongoing security crisis, right? And it's like, the scripture says the hammer of the earth, right? America is that hammer of the earth, man. These are examples of America being that hammer of the earth, okay? Anywhere around the world, if they pronounce a theist anywhere, in their mind, they have the right to make war against that so-called theist, man. Okay, so what better way than to create these terrorist organizations and then use them, all right, to make war against countries or topple governments and regimes and so on and so forth. All right, just like what they're trying to do in Venezuela. His first term, this devil's first term, he said he wanted to remove Maduro and put in Juan Guaido. Remember that guy? Obama looking ass nigga? And that didn't work because the people weren't with that shit. That whole regime change thing, the people were not for that. So now the second term, now they saying, look, instead of just trying to do this whole regime change shit, we're just going to say, oh, this guy is a head of a drug cartel. So now he's a terrorist and he's bringing drugs into our country. So now we have every right to make war against him. How? How? Right? So then they have to create the boogeyman. Right? They did the same thing with Syria back in 2014. Okay? The ISIS niggas back in 2014, right after they spread the propaganda that, oh, Assad is killing his people with sarin gas and we need to go stop him. No, the reason now you guys are trying to do all that is because there was a pipeline going through from, I believe, Asia around there through Syria that goes up to Europe, and they wanted to have control over that. So they said, nah, yeah, this nigga is not giving us the ability to do all these things. He not letting us, basically, he don't want to accept the petrodollar to do his business. That's affecting us, you know? So it's like a domination thing. You know, you don't do as we say, so we just gonna wage war against you, right? Who shall make war against the beast? Okay? So here it says, Trump publicly announced the operation on Christmas Day, presenting it as a decisive action against extremist groups accused of carrying out brutal attacks against civilian populations. Yes, it's the same nigga who comes from the same country that actually persecutes Christians. I mean, look at the so-called new laws and regulations that they're about to pass very soon, all in the name of so-called anti-semantics. That's all going to stop the Christian views of the Bible. Okay, by naming or deeming it anti-semantics, they're gonna stop the communication of Christians so-called very soon. So what about that part? If you care so much about Christian lives, I mean, damn, I don't think you care that much. All right, there's got to be something more to this than just we're trying to protect Christians in Nigeria from ISIS. It doesn't even make sense. That whole plot does not make sense. Okay, because we know you devils don't care nothing about no Christians, man. Okay, you got the KKK that was going into black Christian churches, lighting their cross on fire, lighting their churches on fire, right? Lynching Christians, Jake, all that was happening in this country. This is part of your history that you're trying to erase so bad. Okay, so now we're made to believe that all of a sudden you have a love and an affinity and a respect for Nigerians out in Nigeria because they're being so-called slaughtered. Christians are being slaughtered by ISIS. How did that happen? What business does ISIS have to come over there to Nigeria to go slaughter Christians? What's the incentive? What's the reason behind that? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Okay? It says Trump framed the strike, right? Framing. He framed it as a forceful framed the strike in forceful terms, stating that the operation was conducted under his direct authority as commander-in-chief. In his announcement, he wrote, quote, "Tonight, at my direction as commander-in-chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against Nigeria." Let's put that, because they always like to use throw you off by saying, oh, it's an ISIS terrorist scum. No, Nigeria. You bomb Nigeria, right? It says, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. Okay? This nigga here, bro. It says the president emphasized that the airstrikes were highly effective, claiming U.S. forces had conducted what he described as flawless operations. He stated that the military had executed numerous perfect strikes, adding that the mission demonstrated capabilities as only the United States is capable of doing. There you go. Who shall make war against the beast? Okay? Who shall make war against the beast? As a matter of fact, let's get this real quick in the book of Revelation 13. Right? Revelation 13. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 13. It says, "He doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." Okay, so that's an example right there, as Trump just said, that only America can do. Okay, it says only the United States is capable of doing these kind of missions and so on and so forth. Right? Why? Because America is the hammer of the earth. The Lord has given her, all right, the spirit to do these things, but ultimately it will result in judgment. Okay, it will result in judgment. It says U.S. Africa Command later confirmed that the strikes targeted known ISIS positions and resulted in the deaths of multiple militants. According to official statements, the operation was conducted in coordination with Nigerian authorities and at their request, underscoring ongoing cooperation between Washington and Abuja in counterterrorism efforts. That sentence does not even make sense at all. I mean, listen, bro. Nigeria, there's a lot of corruption that happens in a lot of these so-called African governments, right? A lot of these so-called leaders, presidents, they're all corrupt for the most part. All right, they come in there and their mindset is, I need to get as much money for my family as possible. There was this one guy, I forget, there was a video I saw some time ago, and he said, corruption is not corruption. He said, no, what did he say? He said something about corruption is not corruption unless I'm involved. He said it's corruption if I'm not involved, but if I'm involved, then it's not corruption. Some shit like that, But that's all they do, bro. They come in there, they make all these funny little deals, and then they tank the country's economy, and then they beg America for aid. And then by doing so, America says, well, if you want aid, then we're gonna have to come in there, set up our military bases, and have jurisdiction over your political affairs and your economic affairs and so on and so forth. Okay, and once you give us that power, we could sit down and talk again. You see, so sometimes you wonder, like, why is America making decisions for Nigeria or whatever country, right? And then if you think of all those countries that don't align with America's values, what happens? They deem them terrorists. They deem them on the no-fly list. They put them on the no-fly list. They ban them, right? They put sanctions on them. Okay, so these countries are tired of it. They're tired of how America operates, bro. You go around wielding all this power and this propaganda, these lies, And then you go around destroying countries, destroying nations, destroying land, destroying people. All right, destroying livelihoods, man. People are waking up to this shit, man. Okay? And you're not gonna keep fooling the world with all this, oh, we're going after terrorist shit. No, because we see what's happening, and we see that the same tactics they're using around across the world, they're gonna be using here domestically as well. Okay? As soon as they put that terrorist label on you, it's a wrap. And that's what they're trying to do. They're fomenting that right now as we speak. It says, and a perfect example is this. You know, they cast a net. The scriptures tell you that, right? They cast a net, right, which is a snare. But then it's not like, oh, we're just casting the net to catch a certain specific type of fish, which are, you know, the terrorists. Like, oh, we send this technology up there, which is a net, to catch all these terrorists because, you know, they're in their system and it'll be easier for us to get after them. No, they cast the net so it can scoop up those who are also innocent, right? The regular civilians, right? Because it's like a mindset of, we're not casting the net to catch the fish. We're casting the net, right, as big as we can to wherever the net covers. We pretty much own all that area. So if you happen to be in that area where the net is catching, guess what? You belong to us now. That's Esau's mindset, right? We're casting a broad net, and whatever fishes are caught, whether clean or unclean, we're taking them all. You see, we're not leaving no prisoners. We're taking everything. Okay? And that's how they're designing their technology. All right? So it says here, the strikes followed weeks of increased U.S. surveillance activity over Nigeria. That is crazy. Reports indicated that American forces had been conducting surveillance flights since late November amid growing concern about the deteriorating security situation in parts of the country. That's crazy. They acting like Nigeria is part of America. That's amazing to me. These preparations suggested that the airstrike was the culmination of heightened monitoring rather than a sudden impulsive action. Whatever you want to say, we watching. All right, because we know we don't trust you devils. Let's just put it like that. All right. It says Trump and his administration justified the operation by pointing to what they described as widespread and escalating violence against Christian communities by extremist groups, including ISIS-affiliated factions. Wow. Widespread and escalating violence against Christian communities by extremist groups. I bet you they're going to start talking about Boko Haram. Remember them dudes? Yo, Esau, bro. Oh, man. It's like these terrorist people, they always mesh into whatever society that they're going to be in, right? If it's in the Middle East somewhere, they're going to be, you know, they're going to be having ISIS niggas and Al-Qaeda and shit. If it's in Africa, they're going to be known as Boko Haram. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's just so dumb, you know? If it's Europe somewhere, they're going to call them Nazis and shit. Like, it's just so stupid. But they always carry out the same shit. Oh, they're just terrorists. We just got to go find them and kill them. Fuck. Anyway, it says, this narrative has resonated strongly with many supporters who viewed the strike as a long overdue response to religious persecution. However, it has also drawn criticism and skepticism from international observers and regional experts who argue that Nigeria's violence is complex and driven by a mix of terrorism, banditry, ethnic tensions, and economic instability rather than a singular religious motive. There you go. See? So Esau's not going to consider all that. No. He just needs something that he can use as a driving force so he's justified in his wickedness. That's it. Okay? It says here, the U.S. decision to intervene militarily also came against the backdrop of Nigeria being previously designated by the United States as a country of particular concern under the International Religious Freedom Act. That designation reflected Washington's assessment of serious religious freedom violations and laid the groundwork for stronger diplomatic and punitive actions. This is crazy. Once again, hypocrisy at its finest, man. Okay? Because here it is. Christians are being persecuted in this country by something known as censorship. Okay? All these technocrats, right? All these billionaire technocrats that are building the same very infrastructure that's going to be running this country very soon. Guess what? None of them are Christians. But yet you have this Christian narrative, this Turning Point USA, pro-Christian bullshit that they got. It's all BS. Okay? It's all BS. None of them are Christians. They're all a whole bunch of witches and warlocks. These technocrats, modern day Chaldeans, guess what? They all into Scientology. It's called scientism, dataism. That's what they believe. That's their God. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's actually we'll come back to this article. I wanna prove something real quick. Okay? Let's ask chat. You know, like the apostles say, we're gonna ask chat, right? What God do the modern day technocrats worship? Right? Let's see what chat is going to say, if it makes sense, right? Modern day technocrats are often described as worshiping a God of technology. You hear that? Not the God of the Bible, not the ancient Hebrew God that we claim that we worship, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, not that God, but this is the God they worship, the God of a God of technology, though not necessarily a literal deity, right? Because he's not real. They're making it real in their own minds. Okay? It says the concept is metaphorical, representing their deep faith in science, engineering, and technological progress as the primary drivers of social advancement. This belief system is sometimes referred to as scientism, okay? Where science is elevated to a state of unquestionable authority akin to godhood and is led by a priesthood. Ooh, that's the word. Priesthood. Okay, the Chaldeans, priesthood of scientists and engineers who interpret scientific findings to guide society. There you go. There you go. So they work as a medium, right? The science and the technology and the AI gives them the information, and then they interpret it and tell society this is how we're supposed to go about things. Everybody gotta come worship this beast system. Pledge allegiance by taking the sea hip into your body. If not, we're gonna eliminate you. Let's read some more. It says, in this context, the quote-unquote God of technocrats is not a traditional deity, but a symbolic representation of technological mastery and rational control over nature and society. Right? Well, the Lord did not design nature to be ruled over by technology. He designed nature to be ruled by man in his right mind under the laws of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That's the blueprint. You go against that blueprint, you bring destruction. It's like the Lord giving us, hey, you're gonna pick manna on 6 days, and on the sixth day, right? Because the 7 days is Sabbath. On the sixth day, you're gonna pick double for this day and tomorrow, okay? But all the other days, you pick enough for that day. If you take enough or more than enough for that day, what happens? It's gonna go bad. It starts to rot. It starts to stink up the place, and so on and so forth. So those who disobeyed that order of this is the manna and this is how you use it, once they went against how it's used, what happened? It started to smell, it started to go bad, it started to rot. Okay? But those who did it the right way, they enjoyed it. Right? It was suitable to their palate, so to speak. So it's the same thing here. Once the Lord says sign up and you don't follow it to a T, you end up self-destructing. Okay? It works against you. All right? So it says here, some spiritual and philosophical traditions interpret this force as Ahriman, a figure representing the materialistic, mechanistic, and technocratic impulse that seeks to turn humans into efficient, emotionless machines. Okay? This idea aligns with critiques that technocrats aim to scientifically manage and engineer society, a vision echoed in movements like the technocrats' 1938 proposal to operate the social mechanism through scientific principles. Additionally, the worship of technology is sometimes linked to the Greek god Hermes, the divine messenger and god of communication, who embodies rapid information exchange, innovation, and even trickery. Oh, trickery. Okay? Parallels drawn to the modern digital world's speed, connectivity, and the spread of misinformation. Who's the one who's spreading misinformation? Who's the one who's setting up all these fake ass stories to push certain agendas? It's these same devils who go around saying we need to stop the flow of misinformation and disinformation. You know why that is? Because ultimately, when a population is very informed, it's hard for these devils to go around doing all this whole ass shit. They want to keep everyone dumbed down. So now that the information is coming out, right? They got something called info glut, right? So much information every single day. There's something new going on. Okay, whether it's real or not, there's so much information out there. Okay, so a lot of people are starting to tune in to the truth part of the information, and that's why these devils are desperate. Okay, so you're gonna be seeing false flags everywhere. You're gonna be seeing agitation, propaganda, left and right. All right, just so they can control the narrative again. They can control the flow of information. It's all about public opinion. Okay, and right now it looks like the narrative is changing. And the flow of information is leading towards the Hebrew Israelites, whereas like people are trying to hear what we got to say. All right. Forget about these whole ass niggas that do these videos and say, oh, these Hebrew Israelites this, and they always complain about some dumbass shit. They're not worried about the warning we're giving them. They just worried about what we're saying about it, how we're saying it. These are stupid people. You don't listen to what they got to say. All right. Destruction is coming. We're warning you. We're sounding the alarm bell. One dumbass gonna get up and say these Hebrew Israelites always stand in the street corner sounding the alarm bell. Like, what they always warning about? They always warning about some doom and gloom. Nigga, you blind and you deaf. So you can't see or hear anything we're saying. Why are you talking? Huh? Why are you talking? Shit. Anyway, continue. It says, however, the core of the technocrats' worship lies not in a mythological figure, but in the belief that technological solutions can achieve utopia. All right, that's a belief, and it's a flawed belief. It's never going to work. All right, effectively replacing the need for a divine creator. There you go. See, there you go. That is the problem right there. Okay, that is the problem right there. We're gonna inherit the creator's creation, but we're gonna eliminate the creator himself. You think? Are you dumb? Are you dumb, bro? Thus, while no literal God is worshipped, the underlying devotion is to the power and potential of technology itself, treated as a supreme, almost sacred force. There you have it. Okay, there you have it. So these are the modern day Chaldeans are all back here again as scientists and experts and so on and so forth, engineers. Okay, and they're all into scientism. Scientism is their God. Dataism, that's what they worship. They don't worship the same God we worship. When they say in God we trust and we thank God, they talking about the God of this world. They talking about spiritual demon Satan. Okay? They're not talking about the God of the Bible. So if you're a Christian and you hear Peter Thiel talk about him being a Christian, I don't know how that's even possible. All right? Understand the kind of Christian he's talking about. Okay? So anyway, let's go back to this. Now that we've proven the point, okay, let's finish off the article. Get a few precepts and we're going to close it out. So it says here, it says, despite the president's emphatic language, many details surrounding the airstrike remain unclear because it's vague, right? It's vague. The Pentagon has not released comprehensive information about the exact targets, the duration of the operation, or whether there were any civilian casualties. And you best believe there were civilian casualties because they're doing the same thing they're doing over there in Gaza. In the name of killing Hamas, right? Oh, Hamas, I forgot about them niggas. Yeah, Hamas, they blowing up hospitals, they blowing up schools, they blowing up residential buildings, they blowing up regular people, women, children. They're blowing them all up. All because Hamas has some hostages somewhere. I think they stopped the hostages thing, right? The storyline was kind of dying out, so they kind of had to change gears a little bit, right? It says Nigerian officials have historically pushed back against claims that violence in the country amounts to a coordinated campaign of religious extermination, instead emphasizing the multifaceted nature of the conflict. Exactly. Okay, so if the Nigerians themselves are saying, yo, this is more complex than just saying, oh, it's terrorists killing Christians, why are the Americans feeling that it's okay to just go out there with an operation like this and drop, what do they say, devastating attacks, right? Powerful and deadly strikes. There you go. Powerful and deadly strikes on a sovereign country because you're claiming to bomb ISIS. So let's see, did they really kill ISIS? So then we shouldn't be worried about ISIS killing Christians no more then, right? But I bet you there's going to be a follow-up to this because they always do the same shit. Until they get to their given goal, they always going to keep on creating boogeymen and terrorist groups, all right, proxy armies, so they can use them as the problem so they can bring in their solution after the people's reaction. This is what they always do. And if you don't pay attention to that narrative and that pattern, then that's on you. Okay, that's on you. But you can never trust these devils, man. All right, because they don't worship the same God we worship. Therefore, they don't have the same mindset and the same goals we do. All right, they're not looking for the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, because in their mind, they are the people. So we are in the kingdom, right? Yeah, right. Fuck out of here. Let's get this real quick. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 8. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein. Okay, this is what you've done. You've committed murder. You've plundered. You've destroyed nations. All because of what? Because of money and power. Verse 9, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. Right? They got all these satellites. Right? They got all this what they call it, the space force. Okay, you set your nest on high, man. All right, they actually have what did Elon Musk say? He said by 2026 or 2027, pretty much like the whole sky is going to be filled with satellites and shit, like surveillance satellites watching over the whole entire planet. Okay, it says what? It says, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. But you're not. Okay, you trying to escape going to Mars and go to Greenland and all this. You're not going to escape the judgment of the Lord. All right, because you have sinned against your own soul, nigga. Right, you got to pay for that. You got to pay for that. Okay, this is what's coming, man. Let's get this in the book of Ezekiel. Let's see, Ezekiel 35. All right, the Lord he got something to pick with you devils, man. Is it 35 or is it 36? Let me see. There you go. There's a book of Habakkuk, Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time of their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Okay, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate. And what is modern day Mount Seir? America. Okay, America is the top of Esau's mount, right? They're the highest form of operation and government. Okay, they run the whole entire world through America. Okay, monetarily and militarily, man. All right, or I should say financially and militarily. Okay, it says, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth, and I will fill his mountains with his slain men, and in thy hills and in thy valleys and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolation, and thy city shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. Okay, because thou hast said, these two nations, right, Judah and Israel, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, right? You possessed us. Judah and Israel were oppressed together, right? You oppressed us in this land. And our brothers who are in different parts of the world, you continue to do the same thing. Persecute, oppress. Look what you're doing in Nigeria. Look what you're doing in Venezuela. So both northern and southern kingdom getting the full shebang from this devil, man. Okay? Because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries will be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord Yahweh was there. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will even do according to thine anger, and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Okay? So that's what's coming for you devils. All right, the Lord is going to uproot you. He's going to destroy you. He's going to destroy your inheritance, and he's going to build us right back up again. Okay? Let's finish off in the last verse 15. Ezekiel 35 and verse 15. Jump down. It says, as thou didst rejoice at the... You know what? Let's read a little bit more. Let's do verse 12 all the way down. It says, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, right? And ultimately the God of Israel. Okay? You've spoken, all right, rebelliously against the God of Israel. All the scientist shit that you're doing, that's all in rebellion against the Heavenly Father. Okay? Saying they are laid desolate. They are given us to consume. That's what that's this devil's mindset. Oh, these people are just food for us to eat. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna take over this shit. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. The Lord said he's heard it all. Thus saith the Lord power, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate. Ooh. As thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, right? The land that was desolate after 70 AD, you devils went in there and took that shit up. All right, you took it up and you destroyed it even more. You brought all kinds of debauchery in there. You brought all kinds of different demonic spirits up in that land, man. That's why the Lord's going to have to purge that land clean. All right. It says, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it. And they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. All right. And ultimately, after 1,000 years of you serving your hardcore slavery, for all your crimes against humanity, and for touching the apple of the Lord's eye, you're going to be eviscerated off the face of the earth. You're going to be completely destroyed. We're going to round you up. We're going to throw you into an incinerator, and then we're going to light your ashes up, man. All right. That's what's going to be happening to you. That's Obadiah verse 18 right there. Okay. So that's what's coming. That's your future. That's the real Holocaust. All right. So prepare for that judgment. All right. Anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you were edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, and until next time, Shalom.